channel.
Yes.
We can on video still.
Yes. I can't do the same too.
Yesterday we have the same problems that they say because they didn't adjust the setting
Yep.
before they sent us the link. So now they generate a new link. I don't know whether they're aware of this thing or not.
Oh my god.
Like yesterday, we had to go out first and then come back in.
So I think one of you are not speaker, right? Because I let the
Sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. Wait. Oh, okay. All right.
Hello? I cannot hear your voice from the Zoom, Taufiq. Am I supposed to be hearing you all now from the Zoom, or what's happening?
Puan Yati, I think maybe you can mute your microphone from the Zoom first.
Oh, no, because I'm just testing, because previously I cannot hear anything. Now, okay, I can.
Because now everyone is like hearing you speaking. Hello guys, morning.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hello, hi. Hi, everyone.
And a very
Hi.
good morning, Architect Abu Zarim, PAM Deputy President, and also the Chairman of CPD Committee, PAM Council members, PEM members, PEM CPD committee members, secretariat staff, and also Garis Pizza, who is providing the technical support for this CPD online program. Welcome to this virtual session of PEM CPD Unlimited. 2 years ago, in November 2019, we had our first CPD Unlimited for the first time. I was invited by architect Wan Sofia, the coordinator for the CPD Unlimited 2019 program, to present a paper. Regret that I have to decline the invitation because it clashes with my another program, the ninth annual development conference in Singapore, where I was invited to present a paper together with our Minister of Housing and Local Government, YB Zuraida Kamarudin. I was informed by architect Wan Sofia that the session in KL was well attended and there were minor issues on car parking space and room availability when we did the physical session 2 years ago. Time allocated for speakers were too short. Some couldn't finish the session before the following session starts in the same room. So initially, Architect Abu Zarim, the CPD chairman, planned to have physical CPD Unlimited program on 15 December last year. But due to the pandemic, then we have to postpone to 9th of January 2021. But again, the MCO was also extended several times, affecting our schedule. Finally, we have decided to have this session online. So today, this session will be conducted fully online due to COVID-19 pandemic and the SOP that we have to comply with. I hope this virtual session eliminates the problem that we had before. No more car parking problem, no more room availability problem. But please be prepared and tolerate with us. With this virtual session, speakers are everywhere. They are at home, in their office, and some are at PEM Center. So we are running multiple sessions concurrently. It is stretching the internet bandwidth that we have. But we have our technical team on standby. So we are experimenting this virtual CPD Unlimited for the first time. There are many things that we will learn from this session. Speaking on learning, I hope participants will learn new things from this program today. Under this pandemic and economic challenges, it is like racing. Every day we have to learn and get the new knowledge. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. We are happy to have our speakers willing to share their knowledge and new technologies with us today. I am glad that we have Architect Razin Mahmood. He will be sharing his journey, small team with big dream. And we also have Dato Architect Saiful Anwar Aziz. He will be sharing his experience as a sole proprietor exporting services overseas. And of course, our special guest, Dato Sri Engineer Zaini Ujang from Ministry of Environment and Water. He will be talking about eco-shift in built environment. We also have Taufiq Nazarudin, Noorhayati Ahmad speaking about digital solution and Internet of Things. We also have Associate Professor Dr. Ahmad Tamizi from UMP Huddin. He'll be speaking on BIM organization transformation. And we have Architect Gary Wong also talking about BIM today. And other than that, we have many more speakers on various topics. On fire safety design, we have Architect Chong Lee Seong, Engineer Hao Jiang Te. On construction contract related subjects, we have Architect Joseph Tan, Architect Lu Chi Kiong. We also have David Yek. We'll be talking about mediation and dispute resolution. We also have the topics on conservation by Mariana Isa, Mangjit Kaul, Architect Rida Razak, and Ahmad Najib Arifin, and also on urban design by Associate Professor Dr. Sharifah Salwa. I will not be able to say all to mention all the names, but there are many more speakers. You can check with the program. And later in my session, I will also share the finding from our survey from the government agencies, developers, contractors, and individual project owners on what do they expect from architects in providing architecture services. Recently, we have conducted a survey to get the feedback from developers, contractors, and also government agency on their expectation on architects' services. And on behalf of PAM, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being here virtually today. This is our first ever virtual CPD Unlimited program. Please give us feedback at the end of the session so that we will improve things in the future. I hope that all participants will enjoy this session and have a good interaction with the speakers. Make sure you interact with the speaker. Don't just leave your computer on, but you are not there. So enjoy the session. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you for the very insightful sharing from our president of PAM. So guys, morning. Sudah awake ke?
Morning, everyone.
Hi Puan Yati. Hi Mr. Taufiq.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
So
Hi,
our
good morning.
morning. Puan Yati, do you want to try open the camera?
Yes, I already opened.
Yeah.
Okay.
So morning to all the participants as well. We are about to start our webinar soon. So as you're aware that there's a pop-out sign code. So just a reminder for you. So if you want to take the CPD boy, don't forget to do the so. Also, we will have another sign out code in 1 hour later. Yeah. Okay, shall we start?
Yeah, I hope everyone's ready.
Okay, I will be the first. So hi, I'm KJ. I'm the moderator of today's section. So I'm also an architecture master graduate from Tsinghua University. So currently I'm doing some writing for Nayam Press and freelance design. And we have another moderator with us today as well, Aiman.
Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Aiman. So I'll be the second moderator for today's session. A little bit about me. I'm currently doing my Masters of Architecture at UiTM Puncak Alam and had just finished my urban acupuncture project. So me and KJ, we will both be the moderator for today's session. All right, so enough about me. Now, without further ado, allow me to introduce our panel of speakers. So our first speaker for today will be Mr. Taufiq Nazarudin. All right, so he is the founding director of Designframework, a multidisciplinary urban design and strategy practice. So he had obtained his Bachelor of Science in Architecture from UiTM Shah Alam and his postgraduate diploma in architecture with a specialization in research methods from Oxford School of Architecture. He is also an architect and urban strategist and has experience in leading design and feasibility studies for high density, high performance projects. So he has experience in the KV MRT2 station in Kuala Lumpur. And Mr. Taufiq will share his insight on using urban data for urban solutions. Okay, and then our second speaker for today will be Puan Noorhayati Ahmad, or better known as Puan Yati. So she is the co-founder and COO of Urban Explorers Sendirian Berhad. She holds a Bachelor of Architecture from Liverpool University, United Kingdom, and Masters of Science in Building Technology from USM in Malaysia. Puan Yati is an architect and a building technologist by training with over 26 years of experience in architectural property development and building technology fields. So She has she has held various architectural management and senior management positions in Malaysian conglomerates such as Sime Darby and Putrajaya Holdings. So Puan Yati will be sharing her experience of data acquisition towards deploying a digital twin platform. All right, Kae Jing?
Yes, thank you, Aiman. So yeah, if you guys like wish to stay with us, so here is the way to reach out to us. So you can like screenshot the page. Maybe it's the smartest way, I think. Yep. And if you have any questions along the presentation later, please do not hesitate to write down on the Q&A box downstairs. So we will collect all the questions and discuss after the sharing. So back to our topic today about making smart cities. I know what a big word, right? Smart cities. What is smart cities, right? Data collection, MySejahtera, Wave. Are we Malaysia considered smart cities? Yeah, I'm not going to be the person who answer this, right? So I will pass down to Mr. Taufiq, and he will be start sharing.
You have to end the share. Okay, I got it. All right. Okay, hello everybody. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really honored that you basically choose to spend your morning to actually know a bit about making smart cities. So today in my session, I'll be talking about using urban data for urban solutions. So I think, thank you again for the introduction by Aiman and also KJ. Again, I don't have to recap this, but I'm the lead and founder of Designframework. I have done some work when it comes to development, and also I've been focusing on urban tech from my practice of doing urban strategy and research. So a little bit about what we do. For some of you who don't know, so we are a multidisciplinary consultancy and collaborative workplace. It means that we work, beyond like just architectural work. And then we work also with other partners so that we can always improve ourselves and have a transfer of knowledge and experience. The type of work that we do generally in terms of development studies, strategies, and master plan, research as a subject matter, and also development project when it comes to implementation stage of work. But at the same time, Designframework also straddles between technology and development. That's where we have our urban tech lab, which is in Malay, we call it Tech Manda. That's the brand name. And in Tech Lab, what we do is we research, we develop, and then we collaborate to sort of develop the technology that basically is needed to provide urban solution. And we basically operate in a way where we use this idea of an ideas bank, where all ideas are welcome, but we go through a rigorous process of proof of concept, and then we try to develop a prototype, we test it, and then we see how can we deploy or we adapt it in our project or work. Also, we also focus a lot on the people and culture. So it means that a lot of our work is basically due to our interaction with people. There's a people factor here, which is very important. So this is in terms of competitions that we join, hackathons, projects, clients, partners as well, communities, event and team. So it's really quite difficult to say where the point of conception of innovation comes from. But I think if you sort of want to chase that, you have to interact with people and the community beyond yourselves. Okay. So just putting an image on the type of idea and product that we provide. I don't know why my slides is there. So again, just showing in terms of the type of project that we generally handle. I think the key ones are, for example, the master plan project, development and strategy master plan project for Kampung Baru, one in Bukit Bintang and Imbi for DBKL. And then we've done some, technical report for BKNS headquarters. At the same time, we have done some cultural projects, for example, for PAM when they were vying for the architects symposium, to be held in Kuala Lumpur, as well as a few architecture festivals, and also participating in submitting strategic papers, for example, for the structure plan and city plan as well. And last year, we have participated in 2 national level hackathons. And we are right now sort of working on 2 smart city solution projects. So today, work rigorously and try to play an imaginative role. I think in terms of how our team work is, we try to really intersect in between discussions, and basically sharing of ideas and what's the best way to sort of solve any problem. So this sort of framework is sort of the core of design framework, where we value that and we basically try to develop a solution, a best way forward out of that, intersection. Something wrong with my scrolling. As well as the people. So I just share with you, these have been sort of some of our most frequent collaborators and our long-time partners. So these are our heroes. So the most important thing is that not just they are talented and hardworking, they are also, all of them are community builders. So we have to think about when we do something, we want to develop communities. So straight into the topic, if we want to talk about data, so we start with this Turing machine by Alan Turing. And we understand that this machine, what it does is basically it calculates probability of numbers. And when we talk about this is that it provides an infinite capacity of analytics. So when we talk about the sum of data, this Turing machine is sort of the first step of processing power that we ever had. But today, when we talk about big data, we're talking about data that basically is exponentially growing, and it basically is bigger than the storage, like in your computer. So this solution and problem to data requires, today, like cloud storage and network. So that's where we're looking at in terms of the new types of data. And then what is urban data? So if I can sort of basically give a definition, also in terms of the application. So if you look down here, urban data followed by the types of data such as data that are generated, data as an infrastructure, like the IoT data, and then simulated data, acquired data, and data asset of the city that has many dimensions or function. So when we talk about, for example, simulated data, so these are data relating to, if you look at this picture in the middle, for example, what is the legal, like the city planning model for this area that you want to develop? And then what sort of research that you want to basically input, for example, a simulation on top of, the current scenario of the city. And then we talk about generated data, which is anything that basically that is developed by your movement or your activity in the city. So this generated data, also exists. And then we talk about the IoT network data and internet infra. So this is the digital real estate. And then we talk about the physical data or the digital twins. So this is the digital integrity of the physical objects. So I think that one I will talk a bit more, but will be more in detail by Noorhayati. Yeah. So bottom line, urban data could be used to help solve any challenges or problem by any specific user group in the city. So, okay. Right. This is just to show in terms of the urban data in application. I'm not going to talk in detail about it, but this data, as you can see, in terms of when it comes to the application, is tremendous in terms of the analytics, in terms of as an IoT network that's supported, the formal data as well, not just from the physical GIS data, but also in terms of the functional data. Okay, then we ask the question of which is a smart city. So if you look at this, like, can someone tell me like which one is a smart city? So you can't really see it because this is a smart city is not just something that you have to visually see, but it is actually the technology behind it. That so when you say that the city is smart. So actually, all these four cities, they are smart cities and cities that employ 4.0 technology. So from Barcelona, Singapore, Tianjin, and Masdar. So one thing in terms of the discussions that people ask, a smart city is something that you build from scratch. For example, like Masdar and Tianjin. Like Masdar, this is the master plan, but right now it's only one block has been built. As opposed to maybe a city like Barcelona, which is high in heritage, but it's actually Europe's top smart city because they are sort of adoption of smart city technology. So it doesn't mean that smart city is something that you have to basically start from scratch. At the same time, it means that it is a city that you employ certain strategies and the technology aspect of the city is updated to the current technology revolution era. So sometimes we think that maybe, okay, a smart city is a chart and then we have a formula and that's it, but it's more than what it seems. So if you can basically follow me in this sort of map. So I basically have highlighted cities and smart. So smart city generally, if I can say in terms of cities, we have to understand it as a system of systems. So we are looking at things such as economic system, institutions such as education, civic, government, industry, the people, in terms of the culture, amenities, and in terms of the recreation and health, and then the infra, environment, etc. And also when we talk about cities, we talk about the application in terms of planning, urban, and network. But at the same time, when we talk about the smart aspect, and certain things that are interchangeably used, for example, people talk about digital cities or e-cities, or the city urban tech or city tech. So these terms are always interchangeably used. So this is sort of a way to sort of look at understanding how basically it occurs. So in terms of smart, so when we talk about smart city, we are referring to an adaptation of tech based on the current industrial and social revolution. So right now we are in the era of top right, the era of digital. It started with the digital revolution as a later stage of the internet revolution, and currently we are at IR 4.0 and an early 5.0 development when we talk about AI, and also the robotics, AI robotics. And then when we talk about IT, in terms of the digital, we talk about digital what? So this is basically attributing to process or creating data, or data in the complex form of a model. So digital revolution was the advent of the computer era with the computer internet of data, or the DNA. And the analytics have given way today in the industry 4.0 as the Internet of Things. Okay. And at the same time, when we talk about objects, like e-wallet, stuff like that. So these are objects that are connected to the internet. So understanding that a lot of the terminology that we talk about in the 4.0 today are built up from a lot of the historical technology development. But when we talk about smart city in 2021, we are talking about the adaptation based on 4.0 and 5.0 IR onto any of these urban systems. So it can be smart economy, smart community, smart infra, smart environment. So that should give you like a clear definition of what it is. Okay, I would like to touch a bit on built environment because today we are in PAM. This beautiful chart is actually not by me, it's by Agenta. But what this basically provides is that on the right, it gives us an understanding of how data from something that is physical, for example, from the beginning, from conceptualization of the building work all the way towards the commissioning and construction, is sort of like the architectural like look when it comes to the life cycle of a building. But the building have a longer life cycle in terms of beyond occupation. There's also the aspect of optimization, rehabilitation, upgrade, renewal, and demolish and build. So I think what we want to understand here is that the value of innovation here on the right side is that it's not just value engineering of the products at design, but also the performance optimization. If you look on the left, the phase of work, on buildings beyond build is another 60 years. So this is to also ask and implore, like designers and architects to look at how their role can and how they use technology to impact the city when it comes to looking at buildings and the environment. Similarly, when we talk about the creation of or the digitalization of physical objects or infra or buildings or cities or digital twin here, so understanding that digital twin, it doesn't just come from something that is built new, for example, a new construction, a BIM model, and then you get that and it becomes the digital twin. There's also an area of conversion or data capturing, and that basically adds on to the digital asset of the city. And I think some cities today that have basically embarked on digital twin, for example, in Helsinki, they have embarked on digital twin in 2019, as well as the UK has developed their digital twin policy under the Center of Development of Built Britain, Harvard, with loads of policy, digital twin toolkit, data for public good, to help spur and push the adaptation of digital twin at their local industries. Now, this is talking about a smart city model and how that's sort of the framework of a smart city is. So understanding again, as I mentioned about the systems, so we look at the vertical stack here is the function of cities. So you're looking at connectivity, access and security, data, marketplace, policies, governance, innovation. So all these sort of functions of cities have existed, for a long time. And then it got digitized. So today, when we talk about 4.0 smart cities, we're talking about a smart city technology platform, which is the infrastructure that would allow a place, so in this box below, I've defined it, provides a digital place of convergence for the different dimensions of activity, meaning all the sort of activity on the left, when you talk about mobility, public safety, sustainability, etc. And also in terms of the function of the city at all levels, from innovation all the way down to connectivity policies, as well as involving the multiple stakeholders, and the area of logic. So this means that in order to allow that to happen, we need to unlock and allow the city to run on urban data, to make decisions based on data analytics, to have better stakeholder experiences, meaning that all these different segments of users, from city body, city administrators, to corporate, to community, to private citizens, they all can access this smart city digital twin platform and basically benefit from those data. And then improve the supply chain efficiency and impact, meaning in any sort of industry or activity that requires productivity, they can basically do that with such precision that it basically eliminates waste. Inefficiency of production. At the same time, to facilitate the other city transformation, because the city is always growing and degrowing. So what this means is on the level of the IT level of infra, when we basically push for technological transformation, we also push for governance, we push for quality of living, sustainability, and etc. Also, the smart city technology infrastructure, we've sort of being the place of convergence would push and allow better economic activity performances, you know. So when it comes to, for example, low carbon society, urban tech-based industries, you know, knowledge-based industries, and etc. And also, so when we say this, we know that we cannot lose out, and we have to basically put an emphasis to adopt and develop the smart city technology infra, such as the digital twin platform. Okay, so I'm gonna show you this part, an example of an urban solution. So this is looking at the growth of cities. So we understand that the challenge of managing cities is not unique, but it's a global issue. If we understand and we look at not just the data growth that I talked about, which was exponential, we look at even the amount of cities not yet at population level. So 10,000 cities, you know, with half from the past 40 years. This was announced during the previous World Urban Forum in China. So to understand that sort of growth and exponential, to manage that would mean to sort of be managing all those data that we talked about, but systematic data management is key. So here, when we try to understand, going to urban solution of challenges of city management today, to understand that the aims are also looking at resolving a lot of these different issues at a simultaneous approach. So we're talking about technology, simulation, management, participation, trust, business challenge, and etc. You can just keep on adding, and it will be exponential. So what would it mean to sort of have a digital engine that will basically be able to work, you know, and basically do the simulation, do the sensoring, do the analytics, and basically allow, you know, the city administrator, like local authorities, PBT, to be able to provide a better service, you know, and to function well as well. So the elements that were related to, for example, a city information system here is divided into 3 elements: the digital twin, you know, as the sort of the solid digital real estate. And then we got the city dashboard that basically allows an interface with this tremendous amount of data in a way that is workable and accessible to the city administrators. At the same time, a machine learning function that basically learns from the data and the simulation of models. So of course, you know, when we do this, we want to talk about bringing and streamlining the data from the user all the way towards the city engine. And we basically have to locate and understand where does the local authority sits here. So as I mentioned again, this different cluster of information or urban data is already existing. For example, the main building versus, you know, like if you are a collection of hubs and you have other satellite hubs. So that is actually already digital, but you need to connect it to your main hub. And then you got all the sensors as well. So how does all that data, how do you work it? So this idea of this having a digital engine is to sort of help to harness all that data and sort of give insights for the city operator. And then looking at, this is a bit technical, but how this can also be done in a way where it is copying or duplicating certain functions, you know, to sort of allow the PBT to not have a big capital at upfront. All right, so in terms of the IoT management system, this is how the urban data actually comes in from the sources of the user, network of database ecosystem, and the IoT devices. It goes into the city information model system, and then it basically is analyzed and basically sent back to the operator onto the dashboard, and then it basically generates jobs in the resource management, on-site job, and job payment. So this is generally an example of using a solution, you know, from the city side, and on the right side is on the consumer end. We just have a device that basically looks at the different user logic relating to what is needed. So in this case, an example of Intersolve community for city services, city council, and city feedback. Yeah. So that's all actually. So thank you so much, and I will basically pass it back to my fellow panelists, Ms. Yati, Mrs. Yati. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Taufiq, on the sharing of urban data for urban solutions. Hopefully, by introducing these methods, we can create an ease and a better life for all, not just for the industry, but for everyone. So next, without delaying, allow me to call upon Puan Yati to share her presentation.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. A very good morning to everybody. Okay, I think without further delay, because we are about 4 minutes behind time, so I shall proceed to my presentation, maybe a little bit about myself. As mentioned by our moderator earlier, I completed my Bachelor of Architecture from Liverpool University, as well as my Master's in Building Technology from USM. I've been in architectural and property development for about 20 years before I actually decided to venture into this data business. So I came on board Urban Explorer about in 2015, so almost 6 years ago. So from there on, I had not turned back. But eventually, data meet architectural. So now that's why today we came in, myself and Taufiq, we talk about digital twins as a platform for smart cities. So I think it's closely related to architectural. So okay, without further delay, I will go on to show my slides. Okay, I think Taufiq had talked a lot about what smart cities are all about and what kind of technologies in context with the urban technology and whatnot. So I will only, not to say only, I will elaborate more on the content of the smart city as in terms of digital twins, as well as the contents of the digital twin itself, the technology behind digital twins. So, okay, specifically, I will talk about data acquisition and application development towards a digital twin platform. Okay, before that, maybe a little bit of background for Urban Explorer, what we actually do. So basically, we call ourselves MODERATORS, which means a maker of digital twins. So basically, we deal a lot with data acquisition, data processing, system development, integration, and whatnot. That is basically the basic of the formation of the digital twins. So currently we offer services and products that enable organization to move towards digitalization, because now everybody is talking about the IR 4.0, big data and IoT. So basically all those things are related closely to digitalizations of all the entities basically. So, okay, why we want to talk about digital twins as part of the smart city platform? Because in any smart city, I would say that digital twins form the basic building blocks. So, yeah, because if we talk about digital twins, it doesn't just necessarily means the buildings and whatnot. It means that it's a digital replica of every entities in the cities itself, or eventually in the states. Like what if I may mention about Smart Selangor, is talking about the whole state as being a smart state instead of just one city in Selangor. So okay, if we look at, there are a lot of definitions of digital twins, or in the digital twins per se. But I think one of those that are famously known, it will be like a digital representation of a physical asset, process, or system. Okay, they are initially developed to what do you call it? To represent the physical entities of the cities or the buildings or or the spaces basically. So as they evolve, digital twins are increasingly being used as a tool by cities. So that is why now it becomes a good platform or a main component for smart cities. Okay, basically smart city is, I will just touch a little bit of it. I know that Taufiq had actually elaborated quite a lot on smart city itself. So I just touched a little bit of it in terms of the key dimensions of the smart city itself, because I think it boils down to the developer itself, developer or smart city itself, how they want to define their smart city. So some will define it according to 12 components, 10 components, whichever that they think might enable their city to be developed as one of the smart city platform. So I think as mentioned by Taufiq about smart governance, smart energy management, water management, development, infrastructure, mobility, security, and all those things. Those actually become the main components or the important components of the formation of a smart city. So because at the end of the day, what a smart city must do is actually provide a better living standard to the people in the city itself. So I think that's the main or the common intention of having a smart city. Okay, now we zoom in into digital twin as part of smart city components. So as mentioned earlier, there are a few definitions for a digital twin. So I think a very straightforward one will be a digital replica of living or non-living physical entity. So why we need a digital twin? Because like I mentioned earlier, it forms the basic building block within the IoT framework, the crucial components for smart city. So when you talk about smart city, you cannot run away from digital twins, basically. So okay, I will because we don't have much time, I will straight away zoom in into what Urban Explorer is doing in terms of creation of digital twins. So what exactly we do? Basically, we do data acquisition and turn all those data into smart entity, basically, or we call it digital twins. So if you look at on the left, it will be the physical entities of the spaces. And we do data acquisition and processing and whatnot, and turn it into digital twins. How we do that? We use technology of a few methods of sorry, a few methods of data acquisition, that is by aerial mapping, street view mapping, as well as indoor mapping. So which I will elaborate more in my later slides. Okay, digital twins is also part of IR 4.0, as I mentioned earlier. So IR 4.0 is actually part of smart cities. If you want to relate what is actually IR 4.0 and smart cities. So the two components are interrelated. So when you talk about digital twin, I think we cannot run away from all these terms and whatnot. Okay, now I will explain more how we actually create the digital twins. I think just now we mentioned about data acquisition, data processing, and data publishing. So those are actually the main components or processes that involved when we create digital twins. So and what kind of technologies are involved? Okay, when we do data acquisition, data processing, and data publishing, so those are only to create the data, basically to create the content. But on top of that, we also need to have the system development because all these data need to be to be published into a proper integrated platform. So those the kind of technologies that are involved along the way will be one of them, will be system development itself. And of course, when you have a system, you need a system integration. You need, of course, when you have the data, the content, you also need to do the data analytics. I think it was mentioned by Taufiq just now, that data analytics is part of what a smart city needs required basically. So now we are implementing things like machine learning, deep learning, which is actually subsets of AI into our system development to become part of our modules basically. So since we are doing huge data capturing, data acquisition, so we need to do analytics onto the data. Otherwise, they are just becoming like a white elephant, a bunch of data without any analytical, what do you call it, any returns to us, like in terms of the analytics part of it. So we realize that AI has become a very crucial component into our workflow. We had already, we also set up our own, what do you call it, development team to basically looking into this AI things like I mentioned just now, machine learning and deep learning. So we are currently developing a few models to be implemented as part of our system development. So okay, when you talk about these digital twins, you cannot run away from IoT, because IoT is Internet of Things, will become part of the digital twins, because that is how you actually stream data from those IoT buildings or sensors, so that you can integrate your data with the real-time data from these sensors or buildings. So in general, these are the things that involved for digital twins creation. Okay, I will explain further about the workflow of data acquisition up to the system integration, so that we can understand more and relate further to what the forum is all about, that is smart cities, and also relate it to what the architects are currently doing, and hopefully to help them see that the overall or the overview of how this technologies actually will or should become part of the architectural, the current architectural practice, or also in the future. Okay, when you talk about data acquisition, of course, it will involve all methods of data acquisition, because now we realize that data comes in all sort of forms. It can be in terms of images, it can be in terms of point clouds. You are aware about the LiDAR sensors, it produces point clouds. Also the underground penetration radar, the infrared sensors, all sorts of sensors. So those will produce data basically. So for us, we deal with any kind of acquisition method, so that we can actually have different kind of data, because different kind of data will give you different kind of analytics in terms of analytical what you call preference. They will give you a lot of different kind of results basically. Okay, when you had your data acquired, of course, it will involve data processing. So different kind of sensors will require different kind of data processing, but we try to automate most of the processing methods that we carry out, because dealing with huge data, we can't afford to do the data processing manually. So we are not talking about just 1 or 2 tera. We are talking about for one specific project, maybe we're handling like hundreds of terabytes of data. So you can imagine how much of data and how a workflow that need to be involved in just doing the data processing. Okay, when you process the data that came in all sorts of forms or system, you need to do the data publishing, because if you do not publish them, they are not accessible across the board, you see. So all the data are to be published via the web, so that it are easily accessible and can be integrated well. So that's how you come to a data or system integration. So before you actually do the system integration, you have to do the system development, like I mentioned previously, system development. So with the system development, then you can do a system integration, because what we currently doing, we are looking more on an open system kind of development, because it cannot be a proprietary system, because currently if you want to talk about smart city, you will be having, or you'll be facing a lot of different systems from different providers. So the integrated system that you built or you design has got to be an open system, in a sense that it can be fully integrated to any other outside system, outside your own development, basically. So if you are the ones developing a proprietary system, that will actually impose a problem to the client, or yeah, of course, you might be having problems when it comes to integration, because data without a system integration will not benefit a lot, or you might be left behind, basically, because when we talk about integrated platform, the main component will be the system integration itself. So it's very important for us to develop something that is open, in the sense that it can be integrated to about any other open system in the market. Okay, a little bit more about the equipments that we use. I'll just briefly go through this so that you can understand the kind of technology that are available. So, okay, currently for our street view data acquisition, we use camera system. Basically, it's a 360 camera, similar to what Google is using. But in terms of the data processing and of course the data utilization, we further developed a system that actually can carry out a few functions apart from what you can do in a Google Street View, because we need to do data, what do you call it, asset tagging, because most of the people who actually employ us, or the agencies that use our services, they are going towards asset management. So we use our system, the camera system, to carry out the asset management project, so that once we do the data acquisition, we also do the data publishing, as well as do the data extraction, which means that we need to tag, or we need to basically yeah, we say tag all the assets. Let's say you are doing a project for a city council, you need to tag, or you need to tag all the assets within their own city. Let's say it's for a Shah Alam city center, so everything that belongs to the council needs to be tagged, so that all this functionality is being carried out within our own viewer, basically. So it's closely related to GIS, as well as the asset management system. So, okay, after the processing and publishing, this is what you get. And this is where all the functionalities are being carried out within the 360 environment itself. You imagine looking at the Google Street View, because most of us are very familiar with Google Street View. You can actually do the tagging in the Street View environment. Meaning to say, if you see a signboard, you can actually tag the signboard as a part of the city council asset. So, and then you can put in all your attributes for that particular asset and create it as a database. So basically, once you carry out the tagging process, you basically creating a database for that asset management system. And apart from that, you can also do measurement in that 360 environment, so that let's say you need to know how big is your signboard, what is the width of your road, or the length of your road markings, you can actually do in a 360 environment. Okay, moving on. Okay, that is what we do for our street view. Apart from that, we also do drone aerial mapping, but I think I will not delve into that because of the time limitation. So now I will, okay, I think this is closely related to what the architects are doing. It's an indoor mapping technology. So it's basically the concept is very similar to our outdoor system, except that when you do a scanning or data acquisition inside the building, you don't have this GPS signal. So because whatever data that we have is actually georeferenced, so we need to replace the GPS system with something similar to it. So the technology that we're using for our indoor mapping is actually called SLAM, simultaneous localization and mapping, which means that without GPS system, you still can generate the coordinates inside the building. So you imagine that you scan a building, then you do the data processing and data publishing, and you get to tag every single thing in the building with a real-time coordinates. You get the X, Y, and Z coordinates of the building. Let's say you tag a light on the ceiling. It will give you a real, what do you call it, a world X, Y, and Z value, up to 4 mm accuracy. So you can imagine that you can actually do a virtual inspection inside the building using the system. Okay, this is if you look at the screen here, on the left, of course, is all the data processing that we will carry out. I think not much you should know about that. So okay, just look at on the right is actually the viewer that we publish. So basically what we can do in a viewer, you can actually do a virtual tour of the building itself. Imagine yourself going through a Google Street View, but inside the building. You can go anywhere that we had carried out the data acquisition. You can just go to about anywhere, and you can do measurement as well. So this is the kind of measurement that I mentioned. You can do a horizontal, vertical, and even an area of the particular area with a 4 mm accuracy. So I think for references, it might not yet reach the what you call it surveyor's grade of measurement, because usually they will require maybe like 1 or sub 1 millimeter accuracy. But this is we are talking now is about 4 millimeter. So I think for references purpose is very good already. It gives you a very accurate measurement. Okay, apart from those things, what are the other functions that we can provide in the viewer? So basically, you can do indoor navigation. It's something similar to Waze, but inside the building, and 3D measurement that I mentioned just now, and also the asset tagging. So if you want to do asset management system or facility management system, you can actually create database of all assets inside the building. So with that, you can actually create your own building management system in terms of the maintenance of the building, and of course the what do you call it, the asset. When you talk about asset management, of course, you talk about what kind of asset that you have, the category of asset, so that will help you or improve the maintenance of the building itself over the life cycle of the building. Okay, apart from that, I think when we talk about buildings, you also talk about the 3D models of the building, because I think in Malaysia, we have started to implement a BIM. I think CIDB is a driver for BIM implementation. So we talk about our technology, how we can actually supplement or actually help to create the as-built BIM using our technology. So basically, once you do the scanning, apart from the 360 images that we produce, we also produce a 360 3D point clouds, where you can actually export the 3D point cloud into a CAD software, like maybe I think currently most of the people who are implementing BIM, they're using Revit. So basically, you can import your 360 3D point cloud into your Revit to model the building that you just scanned. So this can be used for existing building or even buildings under construction. So that if you have the actual digital twins of the building that you scan, you can actually use it during your construction monitoring to help you to detect clashes during the during the construction, because you already have your construction models. Then you can actually overlay, or you can actually mesh up with your scanning data. Then you helps you to detect clashes. Okay, once you detect clashes during the construction itself, you can use the data to do further analysis, why the what you call the deviations happen, and how to actually mitigate the deviations, or how you need to alter, what are the systems that need to be altered in order to take into consideration all the amendments or deviations that actually happen during the construction itself. Like what Norman Foster is doing, he had started using this kind of technology in the UK, and what they also collected data during the construction. They do clash detections, and with the clash detections data that they have, they try to study and try to improve the buildings during the construction itself, because by doing the analysis of the data, they found out, okay, they do a simulation of the existing building under construction, and then they can actually decide, okay, whether this building need to be amended in terms of the design, or maybe the technology of it. So those are the one of the advantages of having scannings during the construction stage itself.
Wow,
Helps you.
thank you, Puan Yati, for the very insightful sharing. I think we definitely need another class to dive into this topic.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So actually we got some questions from the audience. Actually, it's like very related to what you are sharing just now. Why not we like just taking the question and we can get along with it?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, there's someone asking that, is the tagging done mechanically or manually? Also, another add-on questions like, is this all the digital asset? We still have to do it manually?
Okay. Okay, I will answer the first question. I think that's a very common question we get asked whenever we do our presentation, because once you see it, everybody starts to think automatically, you see. Okay, there are two methods of doing it. Currently, okay, using the basic viewer that I showed you just now has got to be done manually, meaning to say if you have 2,000 lightings in the building, you need to tag every single of it manually. But if you remember that I mentioned initially that we are also developing our AI, or we call it machine learning module. So in order for us to do it automatically, meaning to say once you publish the data, it can automatically detect the lightings. We need to train the machine via the machine learning models. So that is also currently being developed by our internal team. So yes, to answer the question, we can do it manually using the basic system that we have, but we are also implementing the machine learning models into our system. Okay, second, can you repeat the second question, KJ? Sorry, I lose it.
No, it's actually related to the first question. Is that,
okay, so
is that all the digital
yeah.
asset we still have to do it like manually?
Yes. So but basically, yeah, with the implementation of the machine learning and deep learning, we can do it automatically. So because I think we can't afford to do it manually, because if we talk about huge data of a city center, you got huge data to be tagged manually. That is a very what do you call it, taxing kind of things, basically. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Puan Yati. By the way, just a friendly reminder, there will be a sign-up code. So whoever hasn't voted for the sign-up code, you can do so. Okay. So the next question from Mr. Muhammad Nuriman. He says, Assalamualaikum, Mr. Taufiq and Puan Yati. So based on your experiences and research, which country that really has a smart city concept that we can take take as an example for Malaysia?
Hi, maybe I can take that question. Right. Okay, which country have really achieved smart city concept? I think I think globally, this a lot of leading cities have adopted Tech 4.0. So if we are saying that the smart city concept is in terms of technology development, then number one, we understand in terms of which city have implemented, for example, 4.0 infra, for having 5G network, for example, or having high-speed internet data, things like that. So sometimes it's not really something fancy like the Hyperloop, right? I think people are thinking about all this really grand technology, but it could be in terms of infra. But then if you're talking about smart city in terms of community, so which community is actually quite connected and high tech? So are we talking about, the nation of, the Japanese people, or we're talking about, like Korea, which is really integrated with, for example, when you look at their COVID case, how they are very, the development of the COVID app with, acquisition of data. And then we look at countries, for example, maybe not so good, but it's about surveillance economy, right, in China. So, I mean, it depends on really how we want to look at in terms of, for example, that we want to use. I think for Malaysia, we can maybe look at Seoul, as a city, because there's a lot of infra development that is related with, for example, setting up every university in every town, and then having all these smart solutions related with autonomous vehicle, things like that. So that is something that is quite good. Singapore as well is something that we can look at in terms of the development of the digital. They have this digital city, like model where if you basically do your project submission, you can just sort of look at your BIM submission and see how that it basically relates with the city model. So you immediately know in terms of how your development is sort of going to react with. So I think it depends on a lot of factors, like for what use, what purpose. So you have to understand that sort of angle and then see which cities around the world can actually give us that sort of foresight. Yeah. But I think we're not doing too bad. We just need to sort of figure out how we want to get to. I think our main challenge is two things: development of the digital infra, our city digital twin. I think we're still waiting for that. And second is maybe the appointment of like a chief technology officer in a governmental agency, or maybe a CTO minister. I think that would be positive. Yeah.
Can I just add a little bit on that? Yeah. Okay. I think closer to home, I can just share what we are currently doing. If you know that Selangor is actually doing the Smart Selangor thingy. So we had actually, we were involved in two projects for two city councils in Selangor. One is for MBSA, the other one is MBPJ. They had previously embarked on this asset management system for MBSA and road asset management system for MBPJ. So basically they had their own system already then we also did the data acquisition for the whole of the PJ and as well as the MBSA. So that will be part of these smart city components basically, because of course, as we are aware that for a state of Selangor, actually they consist of a few city council. So what the councils are doing is actually part of the implementation of the smart city lah, basically. So that is moving towards, we are slowly moving toward this smart city adoption, I would say.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, thank you, Puan Yati and Mr. Taufiq. And actually, there's another question from the audience. Mr. Tajudin Izam has concern about like from the energy side, because like he asked that even with technology, like we're still highly reliable on the non-renewable energy. He was thinking like how smart city planning going to help with this matter, and can it help with eco-friendliness as well? And the second question is a hard question. When will city in Malaysia estimately integrate into a full smart city?
Oh, I think like the sort of, for example, like when will Malaysia integrate into a full smart city? I think, sorry, this morning there isn't sort of like a like a goalpost. You know, for example, wawasan 2020, we want to be smart city by then. So maybe this is like a good question to sort of make like a aspiration on a national or a city level, you know, to say we want to be smart by when. I don't know, maybe Ponyati, like for Smart Selangor, do they set a timeline for it? When will it be?
Yeah, they have like a roadmap for that, but
Yeah.
I think they keep revising that. But I think this pandemic actually is actually a driver to a smart city implementation, because everything now needs to be digitalized. So it's actually is a good blessing in disguise, I would say, this COVID-19 pandemic. So everybody like what we are doing now is already a digitalization of the conference itself. So basically, yes, Selangor has already implemented, but I would say that the obstacle is not in terms of the technology itself, but it's more on the coordination. Because if you talk about cities or even a state, you need to coordinate a lot of things so that everything become one single piece and being integrated. So that's the one of the main obstacle that we are facing. So I think coming back to the question that how green could it be, how sustainable the development could be when we implement these smart cities. But if you remember that when I think Taufiq and myself showed the components of smart cities, one of them is actually like smart wastewater management, smart power management. Those are the things I think that will help to move towards sustainability. Because if you manage the city well, manage the resources well, like the water management kind of thing, so those will help you to achieve a sustainable kind of things basically. So if I may share that actually Shabas is also going into this smart water management system lah. Basically they're implementing their GIS system and whatnot. Same goes for TNB. Currently we are also involved in the project of they are digitalizing their assets, starting from their MV, medium voltage, up to the customers. So basically everything will be on their integrated GIS system. So they are also integrating that with their smart meter system. So later on, I am very sure that they are going to do it to integrate their transmission as well as their power plant ecosystem into their GIS system. So those entities or those agencies are actually moving towards this implementation of a smart system.
Yeah, I also want to add to Nazrudin's question. So I think KL has a KL 2025 like smart city blueprint. So I think in terms of like a city level target, you know, KL is looking for 2025. And then in terms on a national level, there's the IR 4.0, which is the adoption of Industry 4.0, which was launched in, I think, like a few years ago. So that is something as well to look at. So it is also like where this discussion they lie when it comes to like the strategic framework. But at the same time, we can look at, for example, you know, things such as like right now, how the pandemic has sort of made us basically work from home, you know, adopting virtual working, and then all this, you know, these the gadgets as well. So that is also a component of, you know, the smart community under smart city. So also to look at the development in all those other areas. In terms of eco and energy, what I know is, for example, Kuala Lumpur has this low carbon society blueprint. And I think a lot of cities in the world, they are still trying to resolve, because if you sort of reduce all type of big contributors to carbon emission, for example, like transportation, if you for KL, in order to get to the low carbon target by 2030, we have to sort of reduce up to like 1/3 of our carbon load, about 12.7 metric ton of carbon. So 30% is attributed from people driving their own cars and not using public transportation. And like 30% is also contributed by our generating energy, electricity. So this technology, this question of renewable energy, I think it relies on our researchers and scientists who are actually looking at producing new and much more efficient way of producing energy. Like for Malaysia, it's not just the hydro dam, but also some coal plants as well. So specifically, if you're talking about cities and energy, it's about production of energy. I know, like for example, Elon Musk have developed a battery, as a battery plant for in one of the cities in Australia. I forgot which one, but that is an example of how to sort of get to a carbon net zero when it comes to energy efficiency. Like the city of Masdar that I basically referred to, they rely on a solar energy generating plant. So, the last mile for a lot of cities to be carbon zero is essentially to solve the technology problem with energy generation. Are there any other questions? I think there's a new one that came in, the open one.
Yeah, from Kok Liang Lam. So smart cities seem to be good for improving efficiency and productivity. So how will all these create wealth, and how can it create new production?
Improve efficiency and productivity, and how will this create wealth? I mean, maybe Puanyati can talk more about how data is creating wealth. But when it comes to efficiency and productivity, I think in terms of research, because smart city is related with the knowledge economy, it's related with the carbon, the low carbon economy. It's related to resilience. It's related to sustainability. It's related to all these indicators. So I think by adopting smart city as a way forward, we'll be promoting the agenda of clean, sustainable economy. So that will basically look at in terms of the institution, the type of research as well. There'll be an emphasis on universities to basically look at finding new technologies, inventing systems, inventing way of work, methodology, indicators. And then when it comes to, for example, government policies relating to emphasis on clean industry, that will give a spillover to allow more businesses to basically, transition from dirtier industries to clean industries, or from low value services to high value services. That's already happening. And I think the job creation, and then in terms of the smart community that we mentioned about, so people will basically want to recycle more, be more responsible, be fitter. So this will basically have some spillover in the services economy as well. So that is how I think in terms of the economic system would basically leverage off smart cities. But Puanyati, the data.
Yeah, I think if you talk about smart cities, you cannot run away from this integrated smart city platform that I mentioned earlier. So when we mention integrated, it means it can be shared across the board with all kind of agencies or units within the same agency itself. So that actually will spur up the decision making, improve decision making, so that you can have faster and more accurate decisions made on certain issues. So that's how I think we can actually improve the efficiency of running a city itself, so that you don't make wrong decisions that will eventually go down the drain and all those things. So I think one of the way of improving the efficiency is by having the integrated system itself, because in the smart city, everything needs to be integrated, you see. So if that is at the maybe the governance level, when you go down to the residents or the people level, I think that they will also benefit from this integrated system. Like if we have any issues or problems, everything can just be launched or be reported through an integrated system itself. Like maybe we talk about the management or the what do you call it, the public roads or anything. If you have any problems currently, maybe you need to use a single system to report the defects of the road and whatnot. So, but if you have this integrated system, everything can be done throughout a very specific system, so that everybody gets the same data that you have. So it's going to spur up a very good or efficient response from the relevant agencies, I would say. So that's how we look at it.
There is a question by Tajudin here, mentioning about advantages of smart city planning and IoT, but you're talking about the disadvantages of it. So looking at this question, I think like all types of like planning is actually positive, you know, because you are strategizing to solve a problem. But like anything, for example, you know, if without like a clear understanding of purpose, you know, and the system, for example, developing like a smart infra without understanding, you know, like how to deploy it, or don't have the leadership to actually fully implement the project. So sometimes the area of implementing it, this smart city planning becomes disadvantageous because of due to mismanagement and things like that. So this is something that is not just specific to the smart city, but it's more on the city planning, you know, that as a problem. I think on the technology as well, maybe in terms of conversation that when we talk about high technology and high tech, there's also, I think, like a lack of discussion on high touch, you know, and social. But I think people misunderstand that high touch services and industry, for example, like carriers, you know, things like that, service providers, you know, key service workers, they are also part of the smart city community. So it is also sometimes like the lack of definition of the smart city planning framework that basically doesn't talk about certain elements of, you know, ecology, smart, you know, the civic part, the humanities. So that is something that I think it basically needs a bit more talk about, not just in terms of the physical and the technology. So maybe the disadvantage is when like the approach of the framework is not comprehensive and inclusive. But that can be resolved, you know, through proper, you know, methodology and approach. Yeah.
I think another issue would be on the data sharing, because if you talk about smart city, you are dealing with a huge data and all sorts of system platforms. So you can't run away from this system integration and all those things. So it is interrelated to this data security and whatnot, you see.
Yeah.
So, but I think, data need to be shared across the board, across the, I mean, everybody needs to access the data. So they had come up with this kind of technology called blockchain technology. Yeah? So actually to handle all these security kind of things, basically, so that to avoid data mining that happened, I think, for Facebook previously, data mining and all those things, the concern for it. But
Facebook, Google.
Yes. But I think currently, if you want to implement this smart city, you cannot run away 100% from those kind of issues. But they are also developing technologies to counter it, basically to handle it, like the blockchain technology. But yet to be improved and of course to be what do you call it, proved. But hackers will be everywhere. So I think it's just a matter of time, basically how we actually deal with it and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I think to add to that, if you actually watch the surveillance economy, you know, and this Dr. Zobana, who is the economist relating to this surveillance economy. They talk a bit about how this data mining, and then when it comes to like state-funded data mining, it becomes surveillance economy like China. So I mean, when I hear about that, I think their conclusion was at the end of the day, it comes down to self-regulation as well, you know, in terms of the owners of the platform. For example, is it state or is it the company? For example, how does Google and Facebook always improve its, data policy? Because sometimes the innovator, you know, is so far ahead than the legislator. So sometimes this is where you make the rules up as you go forward. But I think this is where the civic community as well, you know, like I think one guy, he was just a pilot, I think. So he was really upset when his data was mined to that extent, and he managed to actually turn that into a legislation, you know, that allow everybody to opt out of sharing data. So this is example of sort of like civic advocacy when it comes to informing yourself about the policy relating to data security. Yeah. So yeah, you can watch that on Netflix as well. Not an advertisement.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another question, yeah, Mr. Cobb. I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
but we because like afraid of the time constraint,
I think I take one more. It's almost, you got 6
Yeah, I
more
think the
minutes.
last one, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a short add-on for these
The
questions.
common pool of data analysis and blockchain technology, is there space for alternative or differing opinions and views? I think the common data, or we call it common platform, basically to eliminate discrepancies in terms of data. Because what happened now, each unit or each agency have their own data, which are not shared or not integrated. So some agency or some unit are looking at different data, maybe slightly old data, and the other one is looking at slightly different data. So those actually can what do you call it, produce some sort of discrepancies. So I think when we have an integrated platform, everybody is actually looking at exactly the same data. So yeah, they might have different opinions because data need to be analyzed, then only you come up with proposals and decision makings. But at least we had actually dealt with that in terms of everybody is looking at a very common, is using common platform and looking at exactly the same data. So it's just leaving it to the type of analysis or analytics that we are going to use onto those data, so that we can have a good decision making and a very efficient decision making. So I hope that answers what Mr. Kok posted just now. Yeah. You want to add anything?
Any add-on from Taufiq?
I know, I agree with Oyati. It's about validation of data as the starting point of any sort of analysis, right? If everyone accesses the same validated and trusted data, then that should be the start of any discussion or opinions. And of course, the analytics and like any research, right? The analytics and findings, everybody will have their differing views. So I think that is more on when it comes to the discussion relating to it.
But with the current technology, like I mentioned just now, the AI, machine learning, deep learning, I think you will get very good accuracy. Like what I think one guy in I can't remember where he is. He do the model on the prediction of the death of COVID-19 in USA. He come up with very accurate kind of results, you see. So with the current technology, yes, inshallah, we can actually reach a very high accuracy of analytics, basically.
Yeah, I think that's where maybe this question also is opening the other question of this. How do we validate decisions from AI, right? I think that is an ongoing discussion in all fields, Mr. Liang Lam, because I mean, I talk to lawyers, you know, you talk to even doctors. When you talk about, you know, machine-led decision, it's not decision led by data, it's machine-led decision. So that's a problem because machines, they cannot be made to be liable, you know, for faults. So I think that's where I think more discussion around the world to legislate and see how, you know, this can actually guide. I think at the end of the day, there's always like a human being that basically is evaluating the valuation from the AI
Of course. And the
Yeah.
brain behind the machines are always
It's still
human.
flesh
Actually,
and bone.
we
It's still
invented.
the gray matter.
So the inventors of the models actually should be held reliable or
Yeah.
responsible for those things.
Yeah. But when we talk about that, you always hear it, like, for example, some of the great thinkers, even Elon Musk, right, is not too keen with AI. So, you know, due to a lot of obvious reasons, their capacity, and also that they're so logical, because I think if we study human decision making, it's not 100% based on logic. So I think that's the bottom line.
But that's why they have all subsets of AI itself. You
Yeah.
have the normal one, machine learning. Then if you go deeper, it will be deep learning.
Yeah.
And then you have all those unstructured data learning and all those kind of things. So those are actually the categories of the AI that can be implemented based on the situations. So,
all right. So I think we can stop there. So okay.
Once again, like, thank you Puan Yati and Mr. Taufiq for the very, very insightful conversation and sharing. So I think we are afraid that we are going to end our session soon. So, but don't worry, if you want to stay connected with us, please, like, these are our contacts, and also you can also scan the QR code. So we will enter a WhatsApp group and we can keep networking, and also all the questions and all the latest event. Yeah, we'll keep everyone in loop.
Okay, so just a quick group photo before we end our session. All right, so everyone smile.
One, two, three. Hang on. One more. One, two, three. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah,
okay, thank you.
maybe
See
we
you all
can
again. Okay.
maybe we can email you the question.
Okay, sure. Keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so
Yeah,
much.
looking for
Bye.
another class.
Thank you all.
Thank
Have a nice
you.
day.